Alright, what's up, y'all? I'm going to try this ranking video again. I want to talk about the rankings. And we're specifically kind of looking at 135. The weight class of 135 pounds in the UFC. That's kind of what I'm using as my example when I talk about this. So, the reason rankings have my attention right now is because so many fighters have adopted it as an accurate means of gauging when they're going to get a title shot or where they're at amongst the talent. And I get why. That's the whole reason for rankings in a way. But if we go back in time to when the rankings first came around, one, they came around at an attempted point, I believe, by FS1, the channel, and they didn't really stick. And then they went away, and then they came back again. And when they came back again, it immediately in my head triggered college football. I was like, they are mimicking college football in the sense that even if you don't watch football and you see the advertisement for a game coming on this Saturday and it's number 2 versus number 4, it appears like it's going to be a high-level game and be entertaining. If that makes sense. The same thing's going on with the fighters. Now, you couldn't do it in the very, very beginning because there wasn't enough talent. There weren't enough fighters to fluctuate around. So now we have probably about 100, I think it's actually a little less, but we'll say 100 people in every weight class. And that's going to differ by weight classes or whatever, but they say there's 700 people active on the roster. And you can count up the weight classes, do the math. You're also factoring women's weight classes into that. So we're going to say about 100. The issue that I'm having right now, and what I've been struggling to try to articulate, because I've remade this video for like 2 weeks straight, it'd be like, what's next now that Merab has won the title? And the obvious answer that, even without me making a video, people are saying Umar. Umar hasn't beat anyone in the rankings other than Corey Sandhagen. And Umar ducked Corey Sandhagen last year. Now, I could be wrong. Umar was supposed to fight Corey in August of 2023, and he dipped out, and he had one fight early in the spring of this year, and I don't remember who it was against, but I don't feel like they were ranked. They could have been at the bottom of the rankings, but I don't feel like they were. Now Umar's jumping all 15 spots, and he's going to get a title shot. You know who else did that? Sean O'Malley. The guy who was previously the champion. Now, here's why I don't like this. What we're running into is we got athletes who won't fight. So if you start watching the rankings and everything, you're going to watch 1 through 10 barely ever change. And then there'll be like 3 or 4 people towards the bottom, and they might put one at 8, one at 10, and one at 13. But there's only going to be 3 or 4 names that haven't been there for years. And what we got going on is we've got these guys believing in the rankings now. So whoever's number 4, they're thinking that if they lose to anyone, they're going to fall out of the rankings. They have to fight someone higher ranked than them. So it's like they're never going to give people a shot. Now, you'll have the occasional 1 or 2, like Song Yadong will fight anybody. Like, he'll fight anybody. But look at, like, Dominic Cruz is still ranked, and he hasn't fought since Henry Cejudo is still ranked, and he hasn't fought in forever, and his last 2 fights were losses. How's he even in the rankings? He hasn't won in like 4 years, and Dominic Cruz isn't that active, and I'm a huge Dominic Cruz fan. So all these guys are doing, so you'll have like number 8, who's been in the rankings for years, wanting to fight number 4, who's been in the rankings for years. The winner gets spot number 3 and the loser gets spot number 6. Like, it doesn't change anything. Do you see what I'm saying? So everyone's just getting one shot at a top person, and if they win, they can bypass everyone else. Is basically what's going on, because the entire middle is destroying themselves. They're all just eliminating themselves and keeping themselves stuck. Imagine if you were ranked number 6, if you could put on the right performance, you've already beaten enough people to get to where you're at 6. Say you give those people coming up the shot and you have a spectacular knockout, like a spinning heel kick like Buckley did or something. You get what I'm saying? Something that garners attention, a flying knee like Jorge. All of a sudden, you're the money grab, and it doesn't matter the rankings. You have the attention of the masses. You're going to be the one getting the title shot. I would say assuming you win, but nowadays you can fucking lose and still get a title shot. You just have to be popular. But where it sucks is it's diminishing the talent progress in the game. And what I mean by that is like every era has a talent level. And this new era, so like people who started fighting when they're 20 and are now 35 are going to get beat by people who started when they were 20 and are now 25. And it's not because of age. Those 10 previous years of the first artist is people discovering and finding stuff. So it's like, no one taught me to use my eyes when I strike. I was learning from a guy who had probably 20 fights under his belt, and another dude that had been in martial arts for 30 years. Never once was it ever spoke about vision. Like, that's my thing, and I'm very, very adamant I'm the one in this city who brought it around. But everyone that I train, I teach it. So everyone I train literally skip the first year of what my training was, where I was having to find the eyes by myself because no one understood it. No one had figured it out yet. I feel like that makes a lot of sense. Like the progression, I'll talk about like the game passing people by. It's like people's talent doesn't change a lot. The game passes them by as they get older. And that's sort of what I'm speaking to. So you have this new era of, we'll say, people that are like 23 years old. And they're stuck outside of the rankings with maybe they're a couple, 1 or 2 or 3 at the bottom of the rankings. And they're constantly having to fight each other. And they're eliminating each other. While the era who's older, who is 32, they're all fighting each other all the time. And they're not reaching into the new era because they don't want to lose their spot. I don't have anyone I can blame and be like, this is the fault here, this is the fault there. It's kind of just one of those things you have to adjust as you go. So, in most problems and in complaints in life, the best advice I can give you is to come with a solution. And a lot of times we can't. A lot of times we're just like, this isn't right and I haven't figured it out. Well, my solution to this, if we are going to really legitimize, is that a word? If we're going to legitimize the rankings, as in that decides who fights who and who does what and who gets a title shot and everything, then we need more people voting on it. The ESPN rankings are done by like 5 reporters. I don't even know if the UFC actually does rankings of their own. I need to look into that. But if they do, I guarantee it's less than 10 people. What college football ended up doing, and college football has made so many adjustments in our lifetime, beyond letting athletes get paid, which is a whole different topic. It's like, I grew up, when I first was born, like 10 years old and under, the national championship was rotated between the big bowls. So what we were running into is, it's like, it was Florida State and someone else were playing one year, and they were both undefeated. They were clearly ranked number 1 and number 2. And then like 2 teams that each had 2 losses were playing in a different bowl, and that was the national championship because it was that year. And it was like, this isn't fair. This is ridiculous. And so then we came up with the BCS system. Then in the BCS system, it was like there were different ways to get graded, like the AP, the voting of the coaches, the voting of the press, the voting of fans, maybe it was. Then there was like strength of schedule and margin of victory. Then you started running in, when margin of victory was a thing, it was like you'd have someone like Alabama playing Wichita State, and they would run. There's no reason for them not to run the score up. They're going to try to put 100 points on the board every game. So it kind of wasn't a good idea. So then they had to take away the margin of victory and put more emphasis on strength of schedule. And it never did get perfect. Now we got playoffs, and I don't really watch football anymore. I think they're talking about adding more teams to the playoffs. I don't know what's going on, but the solution is an adjustment. So I would say with rankings in the UFC, we need more people voting on it. We need media voting on it, fans voting on it, and then people within the UFC organization voting on it. That would give us a more rounded opinion. And there's more details to cover, like how much weight does the fans vote pull? How much weight does this vote pull? You need to have the fighters voting on it and the coaches voting on it too. But that's my thoughts on the rankings. I feel like this is the video where I finally articulated what I wanted to articulate. Let me know what you guys think. I know I haven't been as active on YouTube. I was going to do a couple interviews, and man, I've just been busy, yo. I've been busy. In a good way. Training. We got some new training partners going on. My work schedule changed. Things are going good. I'll get back to y'all soon. Let me know what you think of the rankings. If you have a different idea, share it. Like, subscribe, comment, all that. I usually reply to the comments where I can have a good conversation. You know what it is. This channel is Concept with Kimblers. Concept with Kimbler. I represent the War Lab. And at the War Lab, big time players make big time plays because we do big things every round, baby. Talking about making that Tootsie Roll.